It appears that former president and convicted felon Donald Trump ended up putting a portion of his audience to sleep during his very low-energy RNC speech. In fact, Ed O'Keefe of CBS News had reported that, quote, there are definitely some folks dozing off. A few lawmakers even snuck out early. Now, why is that? Well, it's mainly because this speech ended up being a rally speech. Now, that said, what changed is that he was, of course, talking about his the assassination attempt on his life. And then, after he was done with that, went into these standard rally topics. For example, like how the economy on his watch was the best ever, the greatest economy, the best ever economy. Wait, what about COVID? That was not good. That was economically devastating. What about that? Completely forgot it. No, didn't even talk about it. His trade agreements, so good, better than before. Now, to be fair, his administration gets a little bit of credit of not, for having slightly marginally better trade agreements. Okay, slightly marginally better. That was offset by his trade war with China. Yeah, if you remember that. And then it talked about how crime, it's out of control, which is not true. Crime's actually way down. It spiked during the pandemic under your administration, and then, has fallen precipitously since. So he also repeated promises and warnings with zero basis in fact. Is anybody surprised that he would be able to balance the budget by just, increasing oil and gas production, and somehow that would balance the budget? No. And then also claimed falsely that an influx of illegal immigrants would bankrupt Social Security and Medicare. How? By definition, undocumented immigrants have no documents. So that includes Social Security. If they don't have a Social Security number, how can you draw Social Security if you don't have a Social Security number? Okay? And they're also barred from getting federal benefits. What are you talking about? Now, getting back to people falling asleep during the speech, to be fair, it's pretty late by the time Donald Trump hit the stage, about 11 p.m. So, it was even past President Biden's bedtime, to be fair. But that said, the reviews on social media were of his speech were not good. In fact, U.S. Representative Brendan Boyle writes, legitimately, this is the first Trump speech I've seen that is so boring. Trump is 78 years old and showing every bit of it tonight. Adam Kinzinger writes, those anti-Trumpers who expected a more measured, grown-up, uniting Trump are watching this speech in horror. He's the same guy, but more boring somehow. Let me just say on that, by the way, it always amazes me how eager the press, and I'm talking about the mainstream press, is to report that Donald Trump is moderating his tone, that they're, oh, finally, Trump is turning over a new leaf. He is uniting the country, softening his tone. Donald Trump's supposedly turned over so many leaves that you would need a leaf blower to, get rid of them all right? But look, honestly, all that talk is nothing more than just bullshit, all right? I'm never buy any of it, but of course the press eats it up. They're like, oh, they can't wait to rehabilitate Trump somehow. That said, he didn't change at all. In fact, here is part of his unity speech.
But he was so great, and he's such a good young man. He went through a lot of trouble, and Don last night was incredible. They went through so much trouble. They got subpoenaed more than any people probably in the history of the United States. Every week they get another subpoena from the Democrats, crazy Nancy Pelosi, the whole thing, just boom, boom, boom. They've got to stop that because they're destroying our country. We have to work on making America great again, not on beating people. And we won. We beat them and all. We beat them on the impeachments. We beat them on indictments. We beat them. But the time that you have to spend, if they would devote that genius to helping our country, we'd have a much stronger and better country.
Can you feel the unity there? Now, he added, by the way, about 10 minutes later into the speech, He added that the damage this administration has done, and I say it often, if you took the 10 worst presidents of the history of the United States, think of it, the 10 worst, added them up, they will not have done the damage that Biden has done. Only going to use the term once. Biden, apparently Biden is he who shall not be named, the Voldemort. I'm going to use the name anymore. I'm not going to use the name anymore. Just one more time. The damage that he's done to this country is unthinkable. It's unthinkable. Unity, everybody. This is Donald Trump's unifying speech. Crazy Nancy and all that. I mean, come on. Now, back to people getting bored. Okay. Edward Luce writes, people starting to leave, loud chattering on the fringes of the arena. Trump is boring the audience. Tim Alberta writes, I'm standing 10 feet from the stage in a sea of diehards, and some are getting restless, checking phones, stealing glances at the teleprompter, whispering about when it will be over. And friend Dr. Stephen Buckley writes, weird, bizarre, and low energy is how I describe this Trump speech. He sounds detached and bored of his own speech. I love it. Now, Fox host Lawrence Jones had also interviewed an undecided Wisconsin voter named Rick Gagliano, who said this about his speech.
And how do you think the former president did in that speech?
I liked the beginning part,
okay.
And then it turned into more of a rally speech. And I've seen 2 of his rallies in person, and then I got bored, to be totally honest with you. And I thought he kept looking back, saying, 4 years ago we did this. And I'm like, I want to know what's going on in the next 4 years. I'm tired of hearing what you did. I want to know what you're going to do. And so it didn't push me closer to him.
You know, it's kind of funny about that, right? Conservatism by nature is about regression, going backwards. So asking them to, you know, hey, put forward a vision here. I want to know what's going to go on for the next 4 years. Well, I mean, all you have to do is just look back through a history book. Okay, he's going to try the same stuff. He's going to try to restrict immigration. He's going to try to, you know, consolidate power in the executive branch. You know, he's going to try to roll back rights and protections and labor laws and you know, environmental regulations. That's basically the Trump plan. Okay, and so he's going to go back to what was more comfortable for certain types of people, mainly straight white people, who had it pretty good back in the day. So, of course, Trump, for him, the past is all he wants to talk about. All right? Which is why it kind of baffles me that Democrats are not talking about their own plans for a second Biden term, if that ends up happening, of course. But what's funny about this is that Donald Trump might be calling Biden Sleepy Joe, but apparently he's the one that's actually putting everyone else to sleep. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.